please.
I'm just opening the Vaishnav book. 1 minute.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, am I audible? Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji, you
You
are
are
audible.
audible.
Okay. Shila Gurudev ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaurangera duti pada jaradhana sampada. Gaurangera duti pada jaradhana sampada. से जाने भक्ति रस सार से जाने भक्ति रस सार गौरांगेर मधुर लीला जार करने प्रवेशिला হৃদয় নির্মল ভেলো তার হৃদয় নির্মল ভেলো তার যে গৌরাঙ্গের নামালয় তারা হয়ে প্রেমোদয় তারে মুই যাই বলি হরি তারে মুই যাই বলি হরি গৌরাঙ্গ গুণিতে জুরে নিত্য লীলা তারে সুরে से जाने भक्ति अधिकारी से जाना भक्ति अधिकारी गौरांगेर संगी गाने नित्य सिद्धि कर माने गौरांगेर संगी गाने नित्य सिद्ध करी माने से जाए ब्रजेंद्र सुत पास से जाए ब्रजेंद्र सुत पास श्री गौड़ मंडल भूमि जे भजने चिंतामणि श्री गौरमण्डल भूमि जे भजने चिंतामणि तारा होए ब्रजे भूमि वास तारा होए ब्रजे भूमि वास गौर प्रेम रसार्णवे से तरंग जेबा डूबे गौर प्रेम रसार्णवे से तरंग जेबा डूबे श्री राधा माधव अंतरंग से राधा माधव अंतरंग গৃহে বাবনতে থাকে হাঁ গৌরাঙ্গ বলে ডাকে গৃহে বাবনতে থাকে হাঁ গৌরাঙ্গ বলে ডাকে নারোত্তম মাঙ্গে তারা সাং নারোত্তম মাঙ্গে তারা সাং হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Prabhuji, this bhajan is written by Narottam Das Thakur, and the official name of the song is Savarna Shri Gaur Mahima, which says glories of Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and this is from the book Prarthana. So, should I read the translation now?
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
So the first part says, anyone who has accepted the two lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya can understand the true essence of devotional service. If one is captivated by the pleasing pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, the dirty things in his heart will all become cleansed. One who simply takes the holy name of Gaur Sundar, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, will immediately develop love of God. To such a person, I say, bravo, very nice, excellent. If one appreciates the merciful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and feels ecstasy and sometimes cries, this process will immediately help him to understand the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Simply by understanding the associates of Lord Gauranga, that the associates of Lord are eternally free from material contamination, one can immediately be promoted to the transcendental abode of Lord Krishna. If one simply understands that land of Navadvip is non-different from Vrindavan, then they actually lives in Vrindavan. If one says, let me dive deep into the waves of nectarian ocean of transcendental loving movement introduced by Lord Chaitanya, he immediately becomes one of the confidential devotees of Radha and Krishna. It does not matter whether one is a householder living at home or a vanaprastha or sannyasi living in the forest. If he chants O Gauranga and becomes a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, then Narottam Das begs to have his association.
Jai Ho. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for reciting that Prarthana by Narottam Das Thakur so beautifully and reading that translation. So moving on to the next part, we have Bhagavatam class by Ramai Manohar Prabhu. Prabhu, are you there?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Yes,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandat Pranam. Over to you, Prabhu.
thank you so much, Panchajanya Prabhu, for letting me speak today. And also thank you, Prem Natraj Prabhu, for such a wonderful Bengali song. You sound very Bengali. Bahut madhur, atyanta madhur, Sangeet. Thank you so much. Shala, so let's start. Is there someone who will read the verse? Hmm? Someone who would be sharing?
Prabhuji, I can read the verse, but I have joined through mobile.
Okay, so let me get it. Which one was it? Namo Kinchana
1827.
1820. I'm very bad with numbers. I never remember numbers. I just remember verses. Okay, I'm sharing it. Is it there?
Yes, Prabhuji, it's there.
Okay.
Yeah. नमो किञ्चन वित्ताय निवृत्तगुणवृत्तये आत्मा रामाय शान्ताय कैवल्यपतये नमः. Translation. My obeisances are unto you, who are the property of the materially impoverished, You have nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material modes of nature. You are self satisfied, and therefore you are the most gentle and are master of the monists. Purport: a living being is finished as soon as there is nothing to possess. Therefore, a living being cannot be, in the real sense of the term, a renouncer. A living being renounces something for gaining something more valuable. A student sacrifices his childish provi- uh, proclivities to gain better education. A servant gives up his job for a better job. Similarly, a devotee renounces the material world not for nothing but for something tangible in spiritual value. Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Dasa Goswami and others gave up their worldly pomp and prosperity for the sake of the service of the Lord. They were big men in the worldly sense. The Goswamis were ministers in the government service of Bengal, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was the son of a big zamindar of his time. But they left everything to gain something superior to what they previously possessed. The devotees are generally without material prosperity, but they have a very secret treasure house in the lotus feet of the Lord. There is a nice story about Srila Sanatan Goswami. He had a touchstone, and this stone was left in a pile of refuse. A needy man took it, but later on wondered why the valuable stone was kept in such a neglected place. He therefore asked Sanatan for the most valuable thing, and then he was given the holy name of the Lord. Akinchana means one who has nothing to give materially. A factual devotee or Mahatma does not give anything material to anyone because he has already left all material assets. He can, however, deliver the supreme asset, namely the personality of Godhead, because he is the only property for a factual devotee. The touchstone of Sanatan Goswami, which was thrown in the rubbish, was not the property of the Goswami. Otherwise, it would not have been kept in such a place. The specific example is given for neophyte devotees just to convince them that the material hankerings and spiritual advancement go ill together. Unless one is able to see everything as spiritual in relation with the Supreme Lord, one must always distinguish between spirit and matter. A spiritual master like Srila Sanatan Goswami, although personally able to see everything as spiritual, set his example for us only because we have no such spiritual vision. Advancement of material vision or material civilization is a great stumbling block for spiritual advancement. Such material advancement entangles the living being in the bondage of material body, followed by all sorts of material miseries. Such material advancement is called anartha or things not wanted. Actually, this is so. In the present context of material advancement, one uses lipstick at cost of 50 cents, and there are so many unwanted things which are all products of material conception of life. By diverting attention to so many unwanted things, human energy is spoiled without achievement of spiritual realization, the prime necessity of human life. The attempt to reach the moon is another example of spoiling energy because even if the moon is reached, the problems of life will not be solved. The devotees of the Lord called akinchanas because they have practically no material assets. Such material assets are all products of the three modes of material nature. They foil spiritual energy, and thus the less we possess such products of material nature, the more we have a good chance for spiritual progress. The supreme personality of Godhead has no direct connection with material activities. All his acts and deeds, which are exhibited even in this material world, are spiritual and without affection for the modes of material nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that all his acts, even his appearance and disappearance in and out of the material world, are transcendental, and one who knows this perfectly shall not take his birth again in this material world, but will go back to Godhead. The material disease is due to hankering after the lording it over material nature. This hankering is due to an interaction of the three modes of nature, and neither the Lord nor the devotees have attachment for such false enjoyment. Therefore, the Lord and the devotees are called Nivritta Gunavritta. The perfect Nivritta Gunavritta is the Supreme Lord because he never becomes attracted by the modes of material nature, whereas the living beings have such a tendency. Some of them are entrapped by the illusionary attraction of material nature. Because the Lord is property of the devotees and the devotees are the property of the Lord, reciprocally, the devotees are certainly transcendental to the modes of material nature. This is a natural conclusion. Such unalloyed devotees are distinct from the mixed devotees who approach the Lord for mitigation of miseries and poverty or because of inquisitiveness and speculation. The unalloyed devotees and the Lord are transcendently attached to one another. For others, the Lord has nothing to reciprocate and therefore he is called Atmaram, self satisfied. Self satisfied as he is the master of all monists who seek to merge into the existence of the God. Such monists merge with the personal effulgence of the Lord called the Brahma Jyoti, but the devotees enter into the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, which are never to be misunderstood as material.
Thank you so much, Panchajanya Prabhu, for reading that very long purport. It must have been like a big, a very long read, right? Thank you so much. Let's start with Mangalacharan. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दवनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते इन्द्रद्युम्न स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमः प्रभुपादप्रियदासाय जगन्नाथयात्रानन्दमूर्तये भक्तसुखाय कृष्णोत्कीर्तनेन नृसिंहेन रक्षिताय नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे Hare Krishna. So let's try to understand this verse word by word. Although the purport was very long and it has everything, but still sometimes we need to scrap out points because our mind is better at remembering points than big paragraphs, right? So let's try to analyze each verse word by word. Each word, uh, breaking it down into simpler meanings and forms. So the first word compound here is Namo Kinchana Vittaya. That means that you are the wealth of the Akinchanas. In the previous verse, Kunti Maharani spoke about Tvam Akinchana Gochara. That means that you are visible to those who are Akinchana. Akinchan means someone who is devoid of any material possessiveness, doesn't have any sense of possessiveness over material objects. So she says that you are only visible to those who are akinchanas. Kinchan means something, and akinchan means non something, not something, which means nothing basically. So you are only visible to those, you are only perceptible to those who are devoid of any material inclinations, any sense of material proprietorship. And here Kunti Maharani says that not just you are visible, or perceptible to someone who is akinchan, but you are their wealth. Akinchana vittaya, that you are the wealth. Vitta means wealth. है ना? We have vitta mantri, vitta mantralaya in the government. So vitta means wealth. So she says, Namo akinchana vittaya, that you are the wealth of those who have no wealth or who have no possession. So that sounds like a virodhabhas, like a contradictory statement. That you are the wealth of the wealthless, you are the wealth of the poor. Now, how does that make sense? So, how can those who have no wealth have wealth? So, this is a very important concept to understand, that Krishna is not just the greatest of everything. Krishna is the greatest, and Krishna is also the uh, worst. I mean, he's the greatest and he's the smallest. Ano Raniyan Mahato Mahiyan. And Krishna is the harmonizer of all contradictions. So, although he's uh, he's visible to those who have nothing, but that in that sense of having nothing, they have everything, and that is Krishna. So even in Upanishads, we read that there are statements that the Supreme Lord, he doesn't have eyes but still sees, doesn't have legs but still walks, doesn't have hands but still accepts. So similarly, the same chain of thought is paralleled here as well. That is, although this person has nothing, he has nothing material, but spiritually, he has the Supreme Lord, who is the source of all spiritual and material things and entities and everything. So, therefore, uh, this virodhabhas is used here. This contradictory statement is used here. Tvam namo akinchana vittaya. That you are the wealth of those who don't have wealth. So, materially, they don't have anything. Materially, they are possessors of nothing. But spiritually, they are possessors of the Supreme Lord. That is what's being stated here. Also, we see that wealth is a commodity, right? With the wealth, it's commodity. And Krishna, he's willing to become a commodity for a devotee who is not willing to have anything within this material world, who is only willing to have Krishna. For such a person, Krishna becomes a commodity. He becomes sold out to that person. And what is this commodity used for? Because every commodity, we use it for something, especially wealth. We can't do anything with wealth itself. Wealth by itself has no value. It has no intrinsic value for itself. But if it's used for getting something which will give us some kind of sense gratification, that then that wealth is of value. Otherwise, it has no value. Just like when this 2000 rupee note uh, was banned in 2016, I don't remember, 2016, 17, somewhere 2016, 17. So then that particular note, which had so much value, was totally useless. So similarly, wealth, if it's not used for getting something, that is of no value. So Krishna, if he is compared to wealth, then what is that thing which Krishna is used for the devotee to get? So that is prema, right? Prema pumartho mahan. Prem is something which is even more important than Krishna. If a person doesn't have prem, but he has Krishna, that is of no value. I mean, not exactly no value, but as such, there is no apparent value, no immediate apparent value for that person. Just like Duryodhan, he was in front of Krishna. Duryodhan was seeing Krishna, Duryodhan was speaking with Krishna. All the Kauravas, they were seeing Krishna, they were with Krishna, they were interacting with Krishna. But still, because they did not have prem, they couldn't appreciate who Krishna is. They couldn't uh, they didn't really know the glories of Krishna. They didn't feel that ecstasy which a devotee would feel. So they couldn't get that rasa. So that's why prem is more important than Krishna himself. Krishna is the commodity through whom you can get prema, and then you can get Krishna again, right? Just like money begets money, so Krishna begets Krishna. Krishna gives you prem, and then that prem gives you Krishna. Right. Also, why this akinchanta is so important. So Srila Prabhupada once said that being pessimistic in relation to the material world is very important. If a person is not pessimistic in relation to the material world, until and unless he sees that this material world is dukkhalayam, then that person will not be able to move forward in any form of yoga. Patanjali Muni also says this thing in Yoga Sutras. Sarvam evam dukkham pashyanti vivekina. That a viveki person, a person who is whose vivek, whose wisdom is awakened, that person will see everything as dukkha, everything as source or direct misery. So either source of misery or direct misery. Krishna also says this, right? Ye hi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayo na evate adyantavant kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. That everything is ultimately either directly misery or a source of misery. So therefore, a Buddha, a Viveki, a person who is intelligent, such a person will not do Raman. He will not engage in such activities. Therefore, Prabhupada says that being pessimistic in relation to this material world is very important to move forward on the path of yoga, any yoga, whether it be karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, any yoga. All the yogas, they require a person to be pessimistic in relation to the material world. It's just like if you see um, that there is a land, let's say in Delhi or in anywhere around India, we see that there is summer in the months of May, June. There is extreme summer, there is extreme heat, there is extreme falling on people, falling on ground, falling everywhere. And everyone is just dying, like literally dying. Some of the poets, some of the ancient Vrindavan poets, not ancient, but medieval Vrindavan poets, they write about this. They say that this heat is like poison. Gurudev also mentions this many a times in his lectures. This heat is compared to poisons coming out of the fangs of a snake. So the heat is very intense. But this very same heat, which is causing so much suffering, will also be the cause of the water evaporating and water vapors going up and forming clouds and then raining down. So the same heat which causes us to feel pain is also the cause of great relief. So this is very important for us to understand. Until and unless we are willing to be scorched by the heat of the material world, we will not be able to feel and relish and immerse ourselves in the nectarian ocean of prema. So that is very important. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also sings a very beautiful song in this regard. He says, Vishaya vasananale mora chitta sada jale ravi tapta marubhumi shama कर्णरन्ध्र पथ दिया हृदि माजे प्रवेशिया बरिशये सुधाय अनुपमा. He says, this world is like Vasana Anal. It is like a forest fire of Vasana, of material desires. And in that forest fire, my chitta, my heart is always burning. And how is it burning? Ravi tapta maru bhumi sam. Just like on a desert, on the desert soil, the sun, it is so scorching that if somebody just steps on it, the feet just burns, right? It's very hot, very uncomfortable to walk on, even if you have what do you call chappal or shoes. Even sometimes those who are wearing shoes, they get blisters on their feet while walking in the desert sand. So Ravi Tapta Marubhumi. So Marubhumi means desert, the land of desert. So Marubhumi Sam, just like the land of desert. It is like that. My chitta is burning like that. But karna randhra pathadiya ridi maje praveshiya borishoy sudha anupam. That from my karna randhras, from my ear holes, a very sweet nectar enters, and that is the name of the Supreme Lord. And when it goes inside, that is the pure name, obviously, that is not mm, Aparadhanam. Or even that could be Namabhas. Namabhas can also create this situation, but not so much. But when it comes to pure name, Shuddhanam, then it's immediate. So when it goes inside, and when it goes inside and forms a cloud on top of your heart, and then when it rains, then you feel like nectar is falling on you. Then you feel like you have been suffering for so long, and now all that suffering has brought some value, has brought some fruit, has brought some positivity through it. So that is very important, and this we can always remember when we face any reversals in life. We can just see, we can just go a little deeper and see that this very suffering will be the cause of very great pleasure, very intense pleasure, which is waiting for me in the future. And that is the sweetness of the holy name. That's how we become akinchan, right? Now someone might say, well, that's good, it's good to be akinchan, and I respect those who are akinchanas. I would also like to be a kinchan, but I am not a kinchan. What can I do? I have so many desires. I have so many gunavrittis. Gunavrittis means I have so many vrittis. That means I have so many inclinations based on the three modes of material nature which are acting on me. So I have so many gunavrittis. What do I do? So here Kunti Maharani says, Nivritta gunavrittaye. Okay, somebody might not be a kinchan. He may be kinchan, he may have lots of desires, but Krishna himself will take care of those material desires. So nivritta gunavrittaye. You are the one who makes a person nivritta of these gunavrittis, of these material hankerings. So this particular word vritti, it comes from the vru dhatu, like va, and you write a, what do you call that? I don't know, something like this r, like there is ra and there is r, and it's a vowel in Sanskrit. So r, so that sound you add r to va, vrittaye. So it comes from the vr dhatu, which means to turn, right? So the modes of material nature, they are always in a state of flux, always turning around, playing around, and making things haywire, never stable. They're always playing, like a dog. It's always active. So the material modes of nature, they are always working, they're always active, they're always turning around. So what he does nivritti of this. Nivritti means he stops. He makes this whole cycle, he makes this whole gunavritti to stop, to take a hold. And how does he do that? By giving his shelter, by giving his supreme and shelter. So that's how he does it. He makes everything peaceful. He makes everything peaceful. He stops the gunavritti. How is he able to do that? Because he's Shantaya. Atma Ramaya Shantaya. So Shantaya means he's stable. Or um, anything or anyone which is unstable, for it to calm down and become stable, it needs support of something which is already stable. Right? Person who is very unstable mentally.
Manikanta Prabhu, can you mute Prabhuji? I think by mistake he unmuted. You are the host, I think. Yeah, thank
No,
you.
Prabhuji, I am on mute only.
No, no.
It's done.
Prabhuji's mic was somehow turned on. So since you are the host, you can mute apart from speaker.
Okay. I see everybody else is.
Yeah, it's done now. Now it's perfect. Yeah. So he's I was saying that he is the Shanta platform, the peaceful, calm platform upon which this whole unpeaceful, this whole agitated universe is going on, right? So since he is Shanta, since a stable entity can only pacify or bring an unstable entity into control. So therefore, Krishna is Shantaya. He is able to control our gunavrittis because he himself is Shanta. Why is he Shanta? Why is he peaceful? Because Atma Ramaya. We are unstable and hankering for things because we want enjoyment, because we want enjoyment outside of ourselves. We want enjoyment from the eyes, we want enjoyment from the ears, but not exactly from the ear. Ear alone cannot give enjoyment. This sense object requires a tanmatra. I mean, the senses, they require a sense object, right? Ear, it requires good sounds, pleasing sounds. Eyes, it requires pleasing vision, to pleasing things to see. If it doesn't have that, it will not be happy. So we are all always looking for happiness outside. Krishna is not like that. He's Atma Ramaya. He's looking for happiness inside. Therefore, he's Shantaya. Atma Ramaya Shantaya. He's always peaceful, detached from the material world. The material world is always detached. But Bhakti Vinod Thakur says that although Krishna is Atmaram in relation to the material world, he is Pararam in relation to the spiritual world. Pararam means he is not happy just by himself in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, he needs people. He needs his associates. He needs every living entity, whether that living entity is right now in the material world or in the spiritual world. Because essentially every living entity has his form in the spiritual world. And if that living entity is not able to give Krishna that pleasure in the spiritual world, then he wants them back. So whether it be in relation to the material world, a spiritual entity, or in the spiritual world, a spiritual entity, Krishna wants happiness from them. Because then there is the understanding that Krishna, those are just expansions of Krishna's Ladini Shakti. That devotee who is serving Krishna is imbued by the Ladini Shakti of Krishna. And Ladini Shakti is non different from Krishna. Shakti Shakti Matayor Abheda. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shakti Rasmat. Ekatmana Vapi Bhuvi Para Deha Bhedam Gritautam. So there is just, it's one reality but manifested differently. So in that sense, it is again Atmaram. But at the same time, uh, in a manifest reality, it is Pararam. That means Krishna is Pararam in manifest reality. That means he requires his devotees to be happy. He is Akhila Rasamrita Murti, that all devotees find ultimate ras in Krishna only. But he is also Rasika Shekhara. He is also the taster of all the rasas. He wants to taste all the rasas. Every living entity is important in the spiritual world. Sometimes people think, if I go to the spiritual world, how will I be treated? There are so many entities. There are more living entities in the spiritual world than there are in the material world. 3 times than what is there in the material world. In the material world, there are unlimited living entities. If you just look at your hand, there will be millions of living entities in the form of bacteria. But in the spiritual world, there are 3 times more of what is there in the material world. So, how will Krishna see me? How will Krishna reciprocate with me? But the thing is, Krishna is so unlimited that he wants to taste every single living entity's rasa. He wants to taste the service and the love of every single living entity, whether it be anything in the spiritual world. That's how Krishna is, because he's Rasika Shekhar. He is the taster of all the mellows which are there in his creation, whether it be in the spiritual world or in the material world. He's Akhil Rasamrit Murti, and he is also Rasik Shekhar, right? And this is how our philosophy also works, right? Achintya Bheda Bhed, that it is there. Krishna is Atmaram, but at the same time he is Pararam. He is not. Mm, he is he's not just one thing. Sometimes people try to envision God like one thing, right? That God is like this. God is the greatest. Can God is the most fulfilled person? Okay, very good. But is God not the most needy person? If God is the most fulfilled person and he is not the most needy person, then he is not perfect. Then there is something in God which is lacking. That is neediness, right? So God is also the most fulfilled person and he is also the most needy person. And that is inconceivable for us. So that's why it's achintya, bhed, abhed. Right? It's not possible. Like just like as Mahavishnu, he is fulfilled. He's sleeping, and the universes are coming out and going in and coming out and going in and coming out and going in, and he doesn't care. He's just chilling out over there, right? But when he comes as Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he becomes Prem Bhikari. Ami Krishna Prema Bhikari. Mahaprabhu says that I am a beggar for Krishna Prem. So that same Supreme Lord who is Atmaram now becomes the most needy person. He's begging from door to door, and people are Vaishnavas are seeing Mahaprabhu and saying that okay, let us not get Krishna Prem, but let this Nimai get Krishna Prem. Let Chaitanya Mahaprabhu get Krishna Prem because he is so much hankering for it. So he's also the most dependent, the most he's the biggest beggar and he's the biggest giver, right? And that is also seen in the same pastime. When he comes as Vaman Dev, he becomes the biggest beggar. He becomes the biggest beggar by coming to Bali Maharaj and asking for 3 steps of land. 3 steps of land. I mean, that is nothing. But he is becoming such a lowly beggar that he wants 3 steps of land. And he's the best in taking. In 3 steps of land, he takes the entire universe. And then he's the best at giving. That he gives Bali Maharaj, an entire planet. He gives Dhruv Maharaj his own abode. He makes it separate Vaikuntha for Dhruv Maharaj. And he becomes, for Bali Maharaj, he becomes his Kshetrapal, his Dwarpal, his gatekeeper. So that's how Krishna is. He is full of paradoxes. Kurma Puran says, Aishwarya Yogad Bhagavan Virudhya Artha Vidhiyate. That Bhagavan's Aishwarya is so great that all contradictory elements, they just come and harmonize in his personality. That's how Krishna is. Okay, now one might say that what about liberation? I don't think that your God can give liberation. He can make you peaceful. Because peacefulness is a state of satogun, right? And also nivritta, gunavritta, yeah, that can also be said, okay, that he just makes the gunas balanced, right? That's a state of balance. But he can't get you out of the gunas. He can't give you kaivalya, he can't give you mukti. So then kaivalyapataye nama. He is also the kaivalyapati. Kaivalyapati means he is the one who gives kaivalya, who gives mukti. Right? And mukti is just a mere side effect of performing bhakti. And there is a verse, very beautiful verse by Srila Bilvamangala Thakur. He says in Krishna Karnamrit, he speaks about this concept that what is the relationship between a devotee, devotion, and mukti. So he says, Bhaktistvai sthiratara bhagavan yadi syad daive nana phalati divya kishora murti mukti swayam mukulitanjali sevate sman dharmartha kamagataya samaya pratiksha. He says, Oh my Lord, if one engages in your pure devotional service with determination, you become visible in your original transcendental youthful form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As far as liberation is concerned, she stands before the devotee with folded hands waiting to render service. Religion, economic development, and sense gratification are all automatically attained without separate endeavor. So, bhakti gives everything. Okay, very nice. Bhakti gives everything. Now, what does the devotee do? What does he think? So Prabodhanand Saraswati in Chaitanya Chandramrit, he tells us what does the devotee first of all, what does the devotee think? So he says, Kaivalyam narakayate tridashapurakash pushpayate durdantendriya kala sarpa patali protkhatadamshtrayate विश्वं पूर्णसुखायते विधिमहेन्द्रादिश्च कीटायते यत्कारुण्यकटाक्षवैभवतां तमेव गौरं स्तुमः. So he says that Kaivalyam Narkayate. Kaivalyam is like Nark. It's like hell. Mukti is like hell. And Tridashapur Akasha Pushpayate. And the heavenly planets, they are just like, phantasmagoria. They are just like Akasha Pushpa. Akash Pushp means flowers falling from the sky, which is like it doesn't happen. So there is no value. I mean, something which doesn't happen, it doesn't have any apparent, any existential value in someone's life, right? So Tridashapur Akasha Pushpaya, that is like phantasmagoria. That is only existing in fantasy. And Durda Durdantendriya Kala Sarpa Patali Protkhat Damtrayat. Also, this material world, material enjoyment is like fangs of a snake. But for a devotee, those fangs are broken. It doesn't have poison anymore. Now that snake may just bite you, but you'll not be poisoned. There will be no threat as such, even if that snake bites you. So if a devotee, even if he is having some regulated sense gratification, still he is not bound. Durdantendriya Kala Sarpa Patali Protkhat Damshtrayate. His fangs have been broken. And Vishwam Purna Sukhayate. This whole universe seems like full of joy. I don't want liberation. I don't want anything. Vidhi Mahendra Adi Chakitayate. Everyone like Vidhi, Mahendra, Indra, Chandra, Surya, all the demigods, even the higher demigods and the lower demigods, all they just seem like Kita. They just seem like tiny insects. And yet, why does that happen? Yat karunya kataksha vaibhavatam tameva gauram stuma. That it happens because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he has bestowed his merciful glance upon me. He has bestowed his kripa drishti upon me. And that kripa drishti is what encourages or what gives rise to bhakti within the heart of a devotee. So if a person is doing bhakti, then that person is not very much interested in liberation as such. And all of this will be taken care of by Bhagavan only. Whether to give liberation or not to give liberation, whether to stop the gunavrittis, how to stop the gunavrittis, how to make that person a kinchan. It starts with a kinchan. Tvam akinchana gochana. Previous verse ended with a kinchan. This verse started with a kinchan, but then it ends with sharanagati. That okay, this akinchanatva is not my, it's not within my capability to achieve. I cannot become a kinchan by doing something, by doing some yoga, some sadhana, anything. But Krishna, he will take care. He will take care in the sense, it doesn't mean that we don't do sadhana. It means that we do our sadhana, but ultimately depend upon the mercy of Bhagavan. He will do what he has to do. Our sadhana is not to get something. Our sadhana is just to please Bhagavan. Right? There's a verse by Hari Ram Vyas. I was talking about this only today itself with Namaraj Prabhu and Harish Prabhu. And he says that Kahu ke bal bhajan ko kahu ke achar Vyas bharose kuvari ke sovat pav pasar. That some people think that I'll do amazing sadhana, I'll do amazing swadhyaya, I'll have lots of wonderful Vaishnava achar, I'll do this, I'll do that, and then I will get Krishna. I will attain akinchanatva or whatever. But Hariram Vyas says that Vyas bharose kuvari ke. I don't care for those people. I don't even look at them. I just look at Radharani, Kuvari. I just uh, uh, I just fall into her shelter and I just sleep. Sovat pav pasar ke so jata. And I just extend my legs. I take a pillow and I roll up my blankets and I sleep. So that's what a devotee thinks. It's not very difficult to attain siddhi in bhakti. It's very easy, but somehow we make it difficult by our own separate endeavors. If we just learn this sharanagati process, if we just learn how to just be in the shelter, then everything will happen. Okay, so I guess it's time. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Hare Krishna, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai Ho. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for that wonderful class. Every time I hear your class, I get a deeper perspective of what Krishna consciousness is. And I also get a reality check of Panchajanya, what are you doing? You have so much to achieve. So thank you so much, Prabhu. It was really enlightening. Uh, Anyone would like to share your realizations?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is Nandraj.
1 second. Panchajanya Prabhu has nothing to achieve.
So, I love the way, Prabhuji, you explain all these topics like experts. So, I was hearing, so first I would like to say that what is I have taken away from this. So one thing which you explained very nicely, all these four things which you explain, akinchana, vrittaya, then gunavritta. So nivritta gunavrittaya, then atmaram pararam. So this whole verse is basically explaining Achinta Veda Ved philosophy. So then you brought up some examples like heat causes pain, at the same time it causes the rain. So, uh, so I was always thinking, what is this Achintya Veda? So I understand the philosophy basically, but this is very raw example that what is Achintya Veda Ved? So, so like we Ishopanishad we read, right? Um, all the slokas that God is far, God is near. Um, so, so that explains very. So that is kind of a philosophy. But this is very raw example I heard, which a couple of examples you gave. So I liked that. And this so like akinchana. So we generally hear this akinchana, but this one guna nivritta gunavritta. So so like um, vritti of nivritta guna, those who have don't have any material inclination, you are the inclination. So I love so basically the format of your this class was very systematic, and the examples were also very good, and they were relatable basically. Very nice. Thank you very much, Prabhu. I would like to hear more.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This is ultimately philosophy has to be lived, otherwise we can't understand anything. And yes, it is very important to see live examples. Only then can we know these things. So yeah, I've been able to see a few devotees, many devotees who are living out this life of surrender, especially even you, Prabhuji, Nandaraj Prabhu. I saw this how you were traveling everywhere with Srila Gurudev. First you were there, then you took Diksha, and then you came to Vrindavan, you met again in Vrindavan. So yeah, that is Sharanagati. And how you were struggling with your job.
I just nothing on me, Prabhu. I just love to be see the Gurudev basically physically presence, and so Takinchana Vrittaya, and then all these examples. I think Govinchan Prabhu the best fit on these topics. Oh, sorry, these examples. I have no one. Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Jai. Anyone else would like to share their realization before we move on to the next?
Um, yeah, Ramai, Manohar, thank you so much. Wonderful class. And you rightly pointed out Nandaraj Prabhu carrying his little ones. He was juggling so much, and they were doing, Prabhu and Mataji were doing wonderful services in Kartik Parikrama. And I was requesting Nandaraj Prabhu also to host our Sunday sessions. Somehow he kindly agreed also. So some of our Sunday sessions Prabhu will also be hosting soon. And yeah, thank you, Nandaraj Prabhu. And sorry, my phone got unmuted for a minute. I think I didn't realize I took my kid to a shopping place, so there was some music and all going on in the background. I didn't realize. Sorry about that. Thank you. Go ahead,
Thank you.
Panchana Prabhu.
Jai.
Nandaraj Prabhu, you're saying something?
I know that this is all because of your mercy that whatever I'm little may be able to do something in the service.
That's your humility. Panchana Prabhu, kindly let's
That's
move.
that's another very important thing. Like this whole verse, it starts with Namaha and ends with Namaha. So always bowing down. So you exemplify that as well, Nandaraj Prabhu.
Correct.
Jai Ho. Thank you so much, Roji. Um, we will move on to the next part of our meeting now, that is reading from Gurudev's Diary of Traveling Monk. So today we are reading a chapter. I have shared the link on the group, and the title of the chapter is It's Never Too Late to Pray. So Gopi Mandala Mataji has volunteered to read this chapter. So Mataji, would you please uh, take it from here? And also Ramai Manohar. Acha, Gopi Mandala Mataji is sharing the screen. Okay. Yeah. Over to you, Mataji.
Hi Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes.
Hi Krishna Prabhu. Am I audible?
Yes, Mataji, you are audible.
I don't know why my screen is not working. Just give me a second.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Is it visible, Praveen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Thank you, Praveen. So, Volume 10, Chapter 8, Never Too Late to Pray. June 4 to 6, 2009. One thing I appreciate about traveling in Russia is the constant reminders that this world is an unhappy place. I am reminded again and again to become serious and to focus on my devotional service. Russia is a G8 country, but life is hard there, owing in part to the political situation, the economy, and the weather. I was again reminded at the airport when I was leaving Moscow. A devotee woman asked me for guidance in her despair. Her 3-year-old daughter had recently drowned in a river near their house. The little girl would charm everyone with her singing. Even though she had a speech defect and could not talk properly, she sang Hare Krishna perfectly and learned complicated melodies instantly. Another devotee broke my heart when she told me that her 17-year-old daughter, Vishakha Dasi, had been ad- abducted off the streets of Moscow a few years ago and had not been seen since. The police suspected it was organized crime, which kidnaps and sells young women as sex slaves around the world. I had watched Vishakha grown up in the early days of the Moscow Gurukula, and I could not imagine a sweeter, more sincere devotee. I consoled her mother, but I was shocked. I also spoke with a devotee man in his mid 40s who had been disfigured in a car accident. My heart goes out to all these devotees, I said to Uttama Shloka Das as our flight took off for Baku, Azerbaijan. I know Guru Maharaj, he said. That's one reason devotees in Russia appreciate that you and your god brothers come here despite the many inconveniences you go through. I wish we could do more to help them, I said. You are doing a lot by giving them transcendental knowledge, Uttama Shloka said. But that won't help Vishakha, I said. I still feel shaken by the story. It's one of the worst things happening to a devotee that I have ever heard about. I can see how much it has affected you, said Uttama Shloka. It's not only that, I said, but I'm tired. We have been on the road of 7 weeks. Before that, I was preaching in South Africa and the United States. I haven't had a real break for a long time. I, I had I had liked to go to Vrindavan to read and chant for a while. Maybe we can continue this tour later. Please forgive me, Guru Maharaj, he said. But many devotees are waiting in the cities we are supposed to visit, and many programs have been arranged. We cannot cancel now. I thought for a moment. You are right, I said. We have to keep going. If it's any if it's any consolation, he said, Baku is supposed to be where the great sage and Prajapati Kashyapa Muni has his ashram on the Caspian Sea. I found this quote from Srila Prabhupada yesterday, and I was looking for a chance to share it with you. He handed me his computer and I started to read. The Caspian Sea was the place of Kashyapa Muni. From Kashyapa, the word Caspian has come, just like formerly the capital of Afghanistan was known as Gandhar. Now it has become Kandahar. Kandahar. Lecture, Los Angeles, May 7, 1973. Guru Maharaj, Uttama Shloka said gently, while we are in Baku, you can bathe in the sea and take it easy. For spiritual inspiration, we can visit the old Vedic temple in the desert, the Temple of Fire. You wrote about it in your diary after you went there many years ago. Baku devotees have told me that it was a place of pilgrim in ancient times. Pilgrims used to travel 3,000 kilometers from India to visit it. Okay, I said, I will rest and we will go to the temple on pilgrim. I had liked to pray for Vishakha there. When we arrived at Baku airport, I had to wait 2 hours to get a visa because the man issuing them was having lunch. When he returned, I handed him my passport and visa application. Where are you two photos? Sorry, where are your two photos? He asked. Photos, I said. What photos? There was nothing on your website about needing photos. No photos, no visa, he said firmly. But I don't have any photos, I said. Can't something be done? A little smile came over his face. Of course, he said. In my country, there are always ways to sort out these things. I could swear I saw dollar signs in his eyes as I handed him a donation. You see, he said, problem is solved. Uttama Shloka and I then waited in the immigration line to have our passports stamped. Behind the immigration window was a woman with a black scarf covering her head. She looked up at me and smiled. Are you from the Temple of Fire, sir? She said. I was not expecting that, and I had to think for a moment. Why, yes, ma'am, I said. I am connected the Temple of Fire. It's part of our tradition, and I have come here on pilgrimage. Very nice, she said, and stamped my passport. As I stood waiting for Uttamashloka to be cleared at another window, I overheard his conversation with the immigration officer. Sorry. What organization are you with? The official asked as he looked at the passport. The Hare Krishna movement, Uttamashloka said. The man looked up and smiled. Oh, he said, do you have any books? Uttamashloka looked confused. Hare Krishna books, the officer said. Many years ago, I bought one on the street. It was fascinating. I have been looking for more ever since. Just give me your address, said Uttamashloka. I'll mail some to you. The officer wrote down his address and stamped the passport. As we went to collect our luggage, I looked at Uttamashloka and started to chuckle. You know, I said, that's got to be the most unusual clearing of immigration I have seen in all my years on the road. Outside the terminal, we were greeted by a group of devotees who escorted us to our car. On the way into the city, I studied the scenery and buildings to get the feel of the country, as I often do when I come to a new place. We were driving on a new highway, complete with picturesque barriers and art architectural designs along the way. But I noticed there were no signs posting the speed limit. Just then, a police car raced by us, its siren wailing and signaled to the car in front of us to pull over. What's happening? I asked our driver. The man was speeding, he said. I laughed. How do you know if you are speeding here? I said. There are no signs posting the limit. The limit is 90 kilometers an hour, the driver said. But the city purposely does not post it so they can give people tickets and generate revenue. Further on, I spoke to another devotee. The last time I was here, I said, we were restricted in our preaching. Has anything changed? Yes, he said. We have never gotten permission to do Harinam or hold public programs, but we were allowed to distribute books throughout the country. Now we are still allowed to distribute them, but only in Baku. That's unusual, I said. It's not a restriction applying to us alone, he said. The government wants to control any propaganda or proselyt- proselytizing, pros- proselytizing in the villages and towns because of the influence of the Muha, Mujahideen from Dagestan. They preach a fanatic message that does not sit well with the liberal Muslim community here. Women don't wear the burqa, he continued. Men and women mingle freely, and women both. Still, it's a Muslim country with Muslim customs, so we are happy that at least we are allowed to distribute books and preach within our congregation. We have our own temple and about 300 devotees. He smiled and lowered his eyes a bit. You are the first senior devotee to visit us in more than a year, he said. Do you have anything special you would like to do apart from the temple programs? Yes, I said. I had like to go on pilgrim to the Temple of Fire. He nodded. Here we call it Atishgah, Atishgah, the eternal flame, he said. It's actually a place for demigod worshippers. Yogis would worship Agni Dev there and perform austerities. It was not really a Vaishnava Tirtha. Actually, it was, I said. I did some research on it after my last visit. A German geologist named H. Weld visited the temple in the late 1800s. He wrote that the worship of Lord Ramachandra and Lord Krishna was prominent there. A German poet, Friedrich Bodenstedt, who visited the temple in 1847, wrote that Vishnu was the main deity. Besides, I continued, Srila Prabhupada said that the sage Kashyapa Muni had visited the temple and wife Diti. He is the father of Upendra, the supreme personality of Godhead, and he is the father of God Garuda, the gigantic bird who carries Lord Vishnu on his back. Place of pilgrimage. I want to go there for inspiration to continue with my preaching and to pray for the soul of a devotee girl whose cruel fate haunts me. That evening, we had a wonderful program in the temple. It is an ISKCON center, but it has a touch of Muslim culture. With colorful Persian rugs on the floors and walls and Arabic texts inscribed on the flower vases. The women dressed in saris made from local cloth, bearing patterns that reminded me of Muslim designs I have seen in other places. Even the Gaur deities had clothes with a Muslim touch. But there was no mistaking the sound of Krishna's holy names coming straight from Goloka Vrindavan as the devotees chanted and danced with abandon. After the Kirtan, devotees came forward and I distributed baklava, a local sweet made from thin pastry, nuts, and honey. But despite the wonderful association and the rousing Kirtan, I had a terrible dream that night. Four bearded men were bundling a woman into a car in the street. Where are you taking her? I shouted. None of your business, snarled one of the men. She's ours now. I woke up in a sweat and could not fall asleep again. I went on the internet and learned that human trafficking was the third most profitable crime in the world. Each year, more than 800,000 women, and children are kidnapped and sold into prostitution and forced labor. Immediately after breakfast, I asked Uttama Shloka to arrange a car to take us and a small group of devotee men to the Temple of Fire. Now, Uttama Shloka said, but it's out in the desert near the oil fields, and you have several programs today. That's all right, I said, but first I want to visit that temple. We got into a jeep, and within an hour we were near the oil fields. I was surprised to see the outdated machinery, and I mentioned it to one of the local devotees. The Russians began drilling for oil here more than 100 years ago, he said. As a result, the natural gas reserves underground gradually dried up. The yogis who still worshipped the fire on the site said the militias had contaminated the area and that Agni had left in disgust. So they went to India. After driving for another half hour, we reached the temple. Although the simple beauty of its design was still visible, I could see that little had been done to develop it as a shrine since my last visit. I turned to another devotee. They haven't done much to develop it, I said. To develop it? Said the devotee. It's amazing that it's still here at all. It was saved only by the intervention of Indira Gandhi. When she was Prime Minister of India in the early 1980s, she asked the Soviet chairman Leonid Brezhnev to restore the uh, dilap- dilapidated site to its original glory. Afterwards, it was declared a national heritage, but few foreign tourists visit. Because of the temple's Hindu origins, local Muslims have no interest. That's ironic because previously we Azerbaijans were Zoroastrians. We were converted to Islam by the sword. The Zoroastrian religion appeared in the 5th century and it believes in a universal and transcendental God. Zoroastrians say that God's greatness can be appreciated in material elements. Worshipping fire in particular is seen as a way to develop spiritual insight and wisdom. The site with its natural gas fires was important to our forefathers. Some scholars say we were natural part of Vedic culture and that Agni had been worshipped here since the beginning of time. There is evidence that this area was called Surahani. Sura means of God and Hani means kingdom. Even more interesting is that it was called Ramani, which means the place of Ram. Nearby is a lake called Gopal. Inside the compound, we saw a stone shrine in the center with a fire burning up from the ground through the middle of the shrine. A small sign said that the gas was now piped from Baku. We, we began by visiting the rooms along the boundary wall where yogis and ascetics performed austerities that were said to give them mystical powers to bless or to curse. Merchants traveling on the Silk Road could visit the temple and make offerings to the sadhus to receive their blessings. But the sadhus were renunciants and would cast any gifts they received into the fire. There were originally 7 main fires in the compound. One was used for cremating the yogis when they passed away. We stopped to look at some dioramas showing the yogis in meditation and some manuscripts hundreds of years old, attesting to the antiquity of the site. A number of them had been added since my last visit. 1 mile from Baku, there's a place where burns, five burns eternally and without torches. Sorry, where fire burns eternally and without torches. Uh, there is n- there is nowhere else in the world where one can find white oil like here. There's a volcano continuously erupting flame in this oil-rich place. In the suburbs of Baku, in some places, the soil was dug out and food was instantly ready from the heat coming out of the ground. After some time, I turned to Uttama Shloka. These dioramas and manuscripts all are very interesting, I said, but I have come here for a different purpose. I would like to spend some time alone. As a group of devotees continued their tour, I walked over to the stone shrine where yogis had worshipped the sacred fire. I closed my eyes and chanted on my beads. Then I read from Prema Bhakti Chandrika by Narottam Das Thakur. My thoughts turned to Vishakha. I folded my hands and prayed for her for a long time. My dear Lord, I concluded, please look after your devotee, Vishakha. Sometimes it's difficult to understand your plan. We can only surrender to your will, which ultimately brings us back to the refuge of your lotus feet. A while later, Uttama Shloka came over. Guru Maharaj, he said, we have to go now. All right, I said. Even a short visit here was enough to satisfy my heart. As we walked towards the exit, Uttama Shloka turned to me. Guru Maharaj, he said, may I ask if you are thinking of mentioning Vishakha in your diary? Maybe, I said. I don't think you should, he said. It's too tragic a story. I stopped. A devotee can find inspiration even in tragedy. I said. It can help us become detached from this world and turn to the Lord of a Lord for shelter. Yes, he said. But your but your diary chapters are generally full of hope and inspiration. Her abduction won't fit in. I have a reason, I said. My hope is that when others hears of her plight, they will be inspired to pray for her. But she was abducted years ago, he said. I looked back at the eternal flame. It's never too late, I said. Praying is a powerful way to solicit the mercy of the Lord. By praying, we can approach Him anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances. Even here in this land of Islam, so far from India, the Lord has provided a place where we can purify ourselves and pray for the welfare of His devotees. Srila Prabhupada says, if you are in danger, you ask your friends to help you. This is prayer. So our prayer is, my dear Lord Krishna, I am your eternal servant. Somehow or other, I'm not, I'm now fallen in this ocean. Please pick, please pick me up and fix me again at the dust of your lotus feet. Prayer is needed because we are in danger. That we are in this material condition of life means we are in danger. Therefore, we should pray. Lecture, Durban City Hall, October 7, 1975. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for reading that chapter so wonderfully. Um, the Gurudev always says in his lecture that in this material world, whenever there is danger, we always have to take shelter of prayers and hope against hope. So, um, yeah, although as Bhakti Rasan Sagar Maharaj here he rightly says that Gurudev's diary chapters are usually inspirational and there is a happy ending as it happens always. But sometimes we also have to understand that Krishna's plans might be different and even not understandable for us at the present moment, but we should always be assured that Krishna will always protect his devotees. So it was really a wonderful chapter. Anyone else, if you would like to share your realization, please. Yeah, Gopi Mandala Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, I don't know. Maybe this is some coincidence. Today only, um, one of the devotee was discussing about some um, mishappening with herself, and I was just listening. She was having, she is actually having a lot of questions, and she's like, every time she's like, I don't know why Krishna is, doing this or why he's not helping or something. So this chapter actually, when Uttama Shloka Prabhu mentioned that Sagar Maharaj actually mentioned, Gurudev, you should not mention this tragedy in the diary chapter. But this actually somehow or other gave me some answers to actually console that my friend. That somewhere I was also telling my friend that you should ask your friends to pray for you. So that's how Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada mentioned that ask your friends to pray for you. And um, this was so wonderful that showing this chapter actually showed that Srila Gurudev is so personal, and he takes each and everything, even if he like I know there are many devotees who are having this thing that we are writing letters to Srila Gurudev, but we are not getting the answers. But this chapter really helped us to know that even if he's not answering, praying for each and every one, he's keeping that uh, um, love and that concern for everyone in his heart, and that is how he's sharing and he's praying to Krishna, to Srila Prabhupada. So yeah.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much. Um, yeah, indeed. Um, whatever you said is true, and we should always know that Gurudev and Prabhupada and of course Krishna as well is our eternal ever well-wisher. So yeah. Anyone else would like to share their realization before we conclude today's call?
Um, yeah, just a thought. Yes, devotees. So when we are in Krishna consciousness, we're always called practicing devotees. So um, I've heard similar instances, even in India, something like that. But it was almost 15 years back, I would say. But very tragic from all respects, from all aspects. So these are certain lessons. It is actually um, we all live in some pockets of uh, so-called materially disciplined, and uh, things are where bit normal for say a decent living, where we don't see extreme deviations in terms of the uh, material aberrations, right? So, but Kali Yuga is like this. So, but if you actually see the space is narrowing down um, as the Kali Yuga progresses. Um, yeah. So there is actually no alternative to um, praying. There is and yes, there will be instances. So I mean, these things will happen with devotees as well. I mean, it is like it obviously this is an extreme situation where it breaks anyone's heart, especially, I mean, be it a devotee or a non-devotee, any human being going through uh, a living hell, extreme hellish situation is actually um, it's even it's unfathomable. So yes, I mean it two things it makes us uh, meditate upon is one is certainly, as Gurudev said, I mean praying for the devotees' welfare. Uh, at the same time, we always feel we are in a better situation, and such things will not happen with us. Um, sorry to point out, Gopi Mandal Mataji, like um, you did not know the word Mujahideen. You were um, struggling to, uh, you know, spell that word, but uh, actually, that word is such a notorious word, and ideally, um, people should be aware, like like jihad, mujahideen, such things. I mean, it's like, what are the worst things that exist in the material world, and those things are, uh, you know, narrowing our civilized space. And I mean, what we have to do? Can we fight? Um, I, I don't think, because again, it is we are in the material world, so we are specifically in Kali Yuga, and that's not actually what we have. Uh, we can certainly fight, but we cannot win over it. We can only what we can only do is what Prabhupada has told us, and it's like, uh, this is not the right place, so we have to go out. So there was a uh, there was a very crude example that uh, in, in one of the classes I was hearing, the internal energy versus the external energy, how internal energy is very close to the Lord, and he, the comparison was actually like, I mean, it's like you, we could also relate this to how Lord, yes, at the same, though he is responsible, but at the same time, Lord is actually close to his near and dear ones, more than the external energy. Actually, it is like, um, a person um, passes the stool. It is external energy. It is our own energy, but it is external. We have uh, gotten rid of it. So that is how. But at the same time, um, like, do we care? No. Of the excreta? No. Actually, we care about our um, you know parents, children, or near and dear ones. So that is how, for the Lord, it is. So he cares more about his near and dear ones. So, and what to do then? I mean, the only way is to um, live, I mean, practice our sadhana and serve. Um, like, we are all Kripa Siddhas, right? And not really, I mean, I don't know, it is sadhana Siddhas, right? So the Kripa Siddhas have to beg for mercy, and so that we can become near and dear ones of the Guru Parampara and the Lord. So this is like, one point is prayer, other point is what we have to do in this situation is increase our devotional service. Yeah, thank you, Panchana Prabhu. Sorry, that was a little long.
Sorry, no problem, Prajit. Please. Actually, what you pointed out is very essential. We should be familiar with some terms, and Krishna, he actually does from time to time give us a reality check that this is not the place you should be in. But we being fools always try to adjust in this material world and try to find happiness here and there. So, profound realization. Thank you so much, bro, for sharing. Yes, Nishtha Mataji.
Hi, Krishna Prabhuji and Ram. Please accept my humble obeisances. I'll just extend a bit to the point that Gopi Mandla Mataji has mentioned about Gurudev keeping it so personal. But I wanted to speak of that point. But when Mataji spoken of it, I went into a bit more of thinking that what I could take it from it. Then I realized the importance of shelter, specifically when we talk of the ending of the diary, right? Where he has stated that whenever someone will read, they will pray for her. This incident, as in the diary dated June 4 to 6, 2009. So the incident did take place a little earlier than that. And if I talk about current, we're reading it at on like in 2025. So there must be multiple people who would have come across this particular chapter. And with that one line, I'm very sure at that point of time, multiple of devotees would have prayed for that person, for the soul, right? So it made me very much grateful and to really cherish that importance of shelter, that what exactly the intensity over here that Shri Gurudev has mentioned of and had gone through while he was constantly thinking of the girl and the burden that he has to bear. As in, we have so many people around us, right? We go ahead, we go and tell them that, oh, I'm not feeling good, I'm not going to do this. Whereas he knew that there were multiple of people who were waiting for them. And I'm very sure, knowing Shri Gurudev the way he is, when he must have met those people, he would have met with all his heart. But then that thing he did not forget. So, yeah, I will remember. I mean, this will be a very good wake up call for me to remember the importance of shelter and being grateful. That's all. Hi, Krishna. Thank you for letting me share.
Jai. Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much for that realization. When Gurudev accepts all of us as his disciples or sheltered disciples, we should be fully assured that in every moment of our lives, Gurudev is watching over all of us, no matter how far we are. But Gurudev is always looking after us. So, yeah, if we have faith, he will reciprocate. So, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your realizations and joining this call today. And we all will see you next week. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila
Yeah.
Prabhupada ki jai, Srila
Yeah.
Gurudev ki jai.
Sure.
Prabhuji, you want to add anything?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Raji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, everyone.
Hare Krishna.